Welcome to the Crypto with Kash Cast Ep8. My name's Duncan Morland. I am your host, and I'm joined by Ishaya Abbasi. Hello, Kash.
Hey, you alright?
Just to let everyone know, we're having some video problems. I think the recording software thinks we're too ugly to show our faces, or at least my face. So this may be an audio-only episode, but that won't stop us from rambling on for half an hour. Oh, look, there we are.
Yeah, you're back.
So how are you doing today, Kash?
Yeah, I'm doing quite well. Doing all good. Oh, there's my alarm going off. That means that we've started the podcast.
Podcast alarm.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm all good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. If people can see my video, I've just moved into a new place, and the internet's a bit dodgy. The lighting is a bit dodgy.
There's alarms going off.
Yeah, the alarm. My jumper is a bit dodgy as well. We've got three crypto topics to talk about today. We're going to talk about crypto privacy in relation to who can see your transactions, whether you should be concerned, things, have a general conversation about that. We're going to talk about the crypto sushi, because there's been some EastEnders style drama going on in the sushi community. And we're going to talk about how to, how do I explain this? How to work out how much you've earned when you're like in your crypto gains, when the crypto you're investing in is not priced against the British pound or the dollar, but is priced against Bitcoin. So Kash, which one of those would you like to start with?
Let's go in the order that you mentioned them.
I can't remember. So privacy was first, wasn't it?
Okay, yeah, let's go for that one.
Okay, so let me just have a look. Because we had a question from Terry, and his concern was basically like, who can see his crypto transactions? Like when he uses a crypto exchange like Coinbase or Binance, he was like, who are they sharing information with? And I guess more broadly speaking, how do you have privacy in the crypto space when every transaction is, on the blockchain for people to search and look at? And whether it's even a problem, like Terry said, he's obviously not money laundering or anything like that. But I guess he wanted sort of some privacy, because like if someone can tie you to your crypto account, then they can essentially look at everything you've bought. If I can work out your crypto address, Kash, then I can see everything you've spent. And maybe you don't want me not having that knowledge. It doesn't mean you're doing anything untoward.
Yeah. No, it's a valid question. And so the thing is, when you do buy cryptocurrencies, you do so on an exchange, and when you are signing up, you are required to provide ID for KYCs or AML regulations. So KYC is know your customer, AML is anti-money laundering regulation. And essentially, when you do buy cryptos on these accounts, there are, your wallets are connected to your account. Essentially, if you buy from Coinbase, for example, they know that you've bought these coins, and there's certain thresholds. I think with Coinbase, if I'm not mistaken, is once you spend over £5,000 on cryptos, then certain institutions are able to see what sort of transactions you've made. And if anything goes wrong, I think even if it is below that, then they could request information on your account, and these companies are maybe legally obliged to provide it. So, and this is just for regulation purposes. It does depend on the country that you are from. So I think I was reading the other day in South Korea, they were saying that every single wallet, if you do use a wallet, it needs to be labeled with a name. So they will essentially, they're trying to or attempting to have every wallet that you use be connected to a name or an entity that can be tracked. It is going to be difficult to do because there are, services out there that allow you to obfuscate your transactions for whatever reason. Of course, there are going to be people using that for legal means, but there may be some other purposes. So, for example, as you mentioned, there may be people who are tracking your wallets, and you may want to do that too. If, for example, if you're a large trader and people are using that to see what sort of investments you're making, and then maybe using it to front run you to, basically beat you to a certain trade, for example, then you maybe want to use those services to hide your tracks and stop that from happening.
Yeah, we saw that with the what was it? Where the people would the Constitution DAO. That's what happened in that auction.
Exactly, yeah. So the billionaire who outbid them knew exactly how much money they had, and he just went one over, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think because I think like the kind of sorry, 1 second. Sorry, I'm a bit under the weather. A kind of automatic response can be to like, okay, well, if you want to hide your transactions, then you've clearly got something to hide. You know,
yeah, which is a shame.
Trying to do something, but I mean, I was listening to an interview with Edward Snowden the other day, who's one of the guys who's a person that's sort of a whistleblower essentially, who now, you know, he's basically he has to like sort of hide where he is and things like that. But privacy to him it's a right almost, you know, it's the right to have privacy. It doesn't mean you're kind of like hiding transactions or things like this. I mean, for him, it's a matter of life and death, I guess. Maybe not so much for the rest of us, but like, it doesn't mean you just want to evade tax. It could be that, like you said, like you don't want people front running your transactions, or especially if like a crypto wallet is tied to your name, like that essentially means that somebody at a company that has that information can see every transaction that you make, like your bank could. And maybe you just don't want that.
Exactly, you know? Yeah. And there are blockchain analysis services out there where you can essentially pay for a service, and they've labeled like thousands of wallets, and you can see exactly what, you know, prominent members are doing, what they're investing in, what NFTs they're buying, what they're buying with, and who they're interacting with, you know. So if they see, like, for example, Three Arrows Capital, which is a large crypto firm, if they've just bought a certain token and they haven't announced it yet on Twitter, then that might mean they've just partnered with them, you know, they've just made an investment, you know. So yeah, you can use services like that, and you could use these obfuscation, you know, services to hide your tracks in that way as well.
Yeah, I guess is there like a play in that, I guess, you know, if you're tracking that information, if you're tracking, because I know there's some services that allow you to track you know, like whale wallets, like people that have, I don't know, what is it, people that hold 100 Bitcoin or more, is that
that sort of thing. There's people with over 1,000, 10,000 sort of thing.
Yeah, and there's like, I think a service called Nansen,
yeah,
that allows you to like monitor that stuff. I mean, have you ever used that kind of information?
I mean, it's useful from time to time, like back when, maybe a couple months ago, when NFTs were really popular. Of course, the market has died down a little bit. The hype from NFTs has settled a bit, and again, it's going to probably pick back up in the future. But back then, you could see what, for example, successful NFT traders have done to see what they're investing in now. Maybe some certain projects that haven't, you know, released certain information. If you see someone with you know, a significant amount of money in their wallet buying a certain project, then it makes you wonder, like, okay, what do they know? Why are they buying this project? Maybe an announcement is coming. You know,
could be a double bluff though.
Exactly, which is what happens as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess also it could be a useful thing, because there's a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of traders on YouTube, or people, you know, I've been writing and working in an industry where there's like an endless amount of people that say they can beat the market, and, you know, here's my trading strategy. Blah, blah, blah. Could be a useful way for people to like actually prove they can do that. You know, I know they do it with some trading software, you know, there's trading software you can record your trades and stuff, but there are ways to kind of game those systems. Whereas if it's all on the, you know, the blockchain ledger, transaction by transaction, you can't really fake that. You know, like you were saying about Arrow Capital, you know, you know, the other day you shared a tweet in the community chat that they'd invested, like, was it 400 odd million in Ethereum. And also, I think when I clicked on that Twitter thread, it was like a few days earlier that like either the CEO or a member of their team had been like saying how they were out of Ethereum, basically, or they were like not, they were criticizing it as if they weren't going to invest, and then like 5 days later or whatever, they're buying.
It's like psyops,
the market dips, and then
they get to buy in at a cheaper level, because they have so much influence. They can create panic in the markets, bring the prices down, then they buy, and then everyone's like, oh, okay, so they've bought, let's buy as well. And
maybe we should do that. We should do that, collectively, Crypto with Kash group, just sort of everyone. Although actually, I'm just promoting pumping and dumping. Okay, so yeah, I guess with privacy, it's a double-sided coin. Like, we're talking about the benefits of it, knowing what. But then it also means that anybody can see your transactions, and that's a trade-off unless you use some of these protocols and stuff that allow you to sort of hide transactions and things like that. I think there's probably a whole, like hour podcast in that kind of stuff. And I don't think I did my explanation of Edward Snowden much justice. So it might be interesting to talk about that more in the future.
There are definite use cases for privacy which are outside the realms of, crime and illegal activities. It's just the fact that maybe the media tries to portray sort of, privacy protocols in a way that is negative. A lot of people say that cryptocurrencies are used in a way primarily for crime, but if anything, if you want to, leave no paper trail, then surely you'd use cash instead of, cryptocurrency, where your transactions are visible on the blockchain forever, and they can be viewed by absolutely anyone.
Yeah, that was actually one of the criticisms Edward Snowden was talking about Bitcoin. He was saying, like exactly what you just said. It doesn't make sense if you're trying to launder and hide money to be using
a public ledger that absolutely anyone can watch.
You can follow it in and out of the system, essentially. And he was saying there was the new Bitcoin upgrade Taproot is supposed to sort of help with some privacy because it takes some of the transactions off the main chain, as far as I understand it. But he was saying it's not going far enough, and it needed to be on the main chain. Which I guess, thinking about it, one of the Crypto Cash portfolio picks is a privacy play that is kind of fundamentally private, from what I understand.
Yeah, but if regulators need certain information, you can give certain keys to them and they can view everything. So in that sense, they're protected as well, which is why I chose it over perhaps some other privacy coins in the market which do not have that functionality.
Yeah, and I guess what we're talking about, and we can stop talking about this in a sec, but I guess what we're talking about is, puts you in a position of control, like, rather than somebody just being able to see everything. It means you can say, here, like, take a look, this is what I've been doing, like, and I think fundamentally that's kind of one of the most appealing kind of promises of crypto and Web3 stuff is like, we're putting you in control. You have this online identity that you choose how much of it you want to share with the platforms and companies you're interacting with. But okay, sorry if I banged on too much in that.
It's all right. I mean, that's great. I think it's very important. It's an important conversation to have, especially in a world where companies like Facebook have data on absolutely everything you do. They know who you hang out with, where you hang out, what you're searching, who you're looking at, sort of thing. And through crypto, you can bring the power back to the people. Of course, all of these protocols are still in development, but I feel like there's a massive opportunity here.
Yeah, until we're all locked into Facebook's metaverse. But yeah. So the next topic, should we talk about sushi?
Yeah.
So sushi is the coin that you talked about and gave research on and a recommendation in the recent live workshop we did. And there's been, I don't know too much about it, but I am aware that there's been like drama in the sushi community, I guess. And also that, like, while the markets have been trending downwards, Graham from the community said that sushi is kind of holding steady or going up a little bit. So like,
it's one of the only coins in the green at the moment, actually.
Yeah. So what is going on with sushi?
Yeah. So essentially with sushi, there's been a lot of, it seems, infighting from the developers and other prominent members. So much so that one of them has actually left in recent weeks. And what that's led to is basically the community. Some members are worried about the future because if Joseph, which is one of who's the person that's left, he was very big on developing like the different ecosystem, different features that the coin has. So since he's left, a lot of community members are wondering what's going to happen. But recently on Twitter, there was speculation from one of the members that's left, one of the original developers, hinting at a possible return to the project, which is obviously a very good sign, as well as Danielle, who's a very prominent crypto community member.
Yeah, he's the guy behind like Olympus. No, not Olympus. He was behind
Time Wonderland, which we've discussed before. Mim, which is a stable coin, and also Spell. And he's, I think he's a billionaire, if not a hundred, 9-figure millionaire. And he's basically proposed to take over a certain part of the project. And he's saying, okay, Sushi's come out with all these different products, but I feel like they need to focus on one or two and then work on the others, as opposed to having all of these happening at the same time. And of course, given the amount of influence that he has and the amount of money, of course, that's brought a lot of, confidence back into the project, which is probably why, it's one of the only coins in the green today. Personally speaking, I'd be very happy if Daniel was to come, because he's had great success in the crypto space in the past few months, especially with the launch of, Spell Mim, which is one of the top stable coins now, and Wonderland. So yeah, it'll be good to have someone like that on the project, alongside Sam Bankman-Fried, who's a multi-sig signer as well.
Yeah, it seems like Danielle's projects are like creative as well. Like he seems to try new things and kind of.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. He's one that takes risks, and so far they've paid off very handsomely.
Yeah, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem dissimilar to what happened in Sushi's past before, like, because Sam Bankman-Fried, who's the CEO of the FTX exchange, he came in to sort of help the sushi community.
Yeah.
I don't know when was that?
I would say around last year. This was in end of 2020.
Yeah, so
second half of 2020.
And that worked well, didn't it? Or...
Yeah, it did very well. The project did very, very well, actually, in the months that followed. It's just since then, and perhaps in the last few months or so, it's become apparent that there's been some infighting. There's very intelligent people, and they have different visions, and perhaps it was needed for the CTO to leave, which is Joseph. And I think if Daniel was to come over and actually focus his ideas on certain products as opposed to all at once, I think that will pay off in the long run.
Yeah, because sushi, like, it does feel like, I don't know if maybe undervalued, but it's such a huge decentralized exchange. It's like the second in terms of volume, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's deployed on the most number of chains. It's
exactly.
Like every chain that comes out is the first one there.
Yeah.
Whereas other projects are so far behind when it comes to things like that. So technologically, it's more advanced than all the other projects.
I guess I got a follow-on question from that is, so from looking at different DeFi projects, it seems to me like governance tokens, like so if you have a project that allows you to own a token that allows you to kind of vote on the direction of the projects and stuff, they don't necessarily go up a lot in value unless they've got a sort of specific utility, if that makes sense. Is that something you'd agree with?
It depends, really. It depends on what the use cases of the actual product are. For example, with this whole sushi saga, it will be the token holders who ultimately decide whether or not they allow Daniel to do what he wants. There's a proposal that he's presented to the community, and it's up to us, token holders, to vote on that. And in that sense, it is the community who chooses the direction of the project, not the actual developers themselves. So, like, for example, me personally, I would be happy for him to come on and take over, given his experience and his influence in the market. Perhaps there will be other people who are not happy with his proposal. Perhaps they want to tweak the proposal. But that's up for the community to decide, which is what's really is quite democratic, you know.
Yeah. I wonder whether going forward like that will be more important. You know, because I like there's, for example, like the Alchemex
Mhm.
project, like the governance token kind of spiked in price and then has gone down and stayed at a sort of steady level. And I just wonder, the more in the future, if people are more involved in voting and decentralized, um, you know, this decentralized democracy, like helping guide these
Mhm.
products. I just wonder whether there's a lag in that, you know, whether that, because right now we're still looking towards individual people to solve things, I guess. And I
Yeah.
just wonder whether the more decentralized, um,
I think it's up. It's a matter of, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a matter of preference, but I think, you know, the debate is not settled. There are some people who would prefer to have like a benevolent dictator of some sort to,
yeah,
you know, at the helm of a project, you know, moving the project, navigating the project. Others would prefer to, you know, have just the community voting on every single issue, every single policy, essentially.
mm,
And I don't know. I think we're going to get into politics, but I don't know which system works best when it comes to crypto products like this, especially with users all over the world. You know,
yeah,
so I think it's just one of those things we're going to have to watch and see how it spans out. Really.
yeah. And I guess you can, if different projects are taking different approaches, then you can sort of see what happens.
Yeah.
um, okay, cool. Well, thank you for updating us on sushi. The
Right.
final question is one from the community, and let me just find it. It's a bit of a technical, practical one. So it's from Alan,
Hmm.
and he's basically asking, how do you calculate crypto returns, your crypto gains, when you're buying coins paired against another crypto? So instead of buying, I don't know, Bitcoin against the pound, you're swapping some Ethereum for some Bitcoin.
Hmm.
Um, and both of those are going up and down in value. So how do you sort of
Yeah,
track
that's a
that?
good question. Because, you know, different cryptocurrencies fluctuate at different rates, so it can be difficult to figure out if you are going to do it manually. That's why there are some great, you know, applications out there that make this whole process easier. One that I use myself is called Blockfolio. It's actually called FTX now. If you go on your app store and search for FTX, it should say formerly Blockfolio was actually bought by FTX, which is why it's called that now. And what it allows you to do is actually, so search the coin that you're buying, for example, Bitcoin, and then you once you've installed the app, you just go add transaction, and then you have the option of saying which currency you used to buy it and the exact day that you bought it on. And then once you have added that transaction, you can basically flip through the different options. So it'll tell you if you're up or down in terms of USD, you know, or pounds since the time that you bought it. Then you can press it again, and it will show you how you are, you know, how your investment is doing compared to Bitcoin, Ethereum. You have many options to choose there. So simply, I wouldn't go around, you know, working this out manually by going to your trade history and things like that. What I'll do is download the app and just add your transactions there and let that work it out for you.
Yeah, that sounds much more convenient. And it's
Yeah.
free. It's free, isn't it?
Yeah, it's free, completely free.
Yeah. Let technology sort it out for you.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, well, I think that's everything, all the topics we had today covered.
Hmm.
So I'll say thank you, Cash, for your time this evening.
Thank you very much for hosting.
And the thing I forgot to say at the beginning is, if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, you can stick them in the comment section below the YouTube video, or there'll be contact details probably below if you're on one of the podcast sites, and we'll cover. We'll do our best to cover the topics and answer the questions you have. And if you want to like us and subscribe, we'd be grateful for that. As I said last time, we're small, but we're trying to grow. And apologies for the video. I'm not sure whether it would just be audio this time, because we had a few video difficulties, but we'll try and sort that out for the future so you can see our lovely faces as well as listen to our sultry tones. But thank you again, Kash, for this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Talk to you next week, or probably talk to you before next week, but talk to you
I'll
live.
see you when I see you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.